Good evening, everyone. You're in the spotlight with Brian Gardner for this Thursday, October the 4th, 2018. Good to have you all here for our second of two shows this week. Not too bad, only about 15 minutes after 10 here, so we're starting relatively on time. You know, that 10, 15-minute time frame after the announced start time is usually right in that range for radio, or podcasting. So, not too bad, right in that range. So, not bad, better than the other night. So, with that being said, let's get going here. Let me remind you all of the ways which you can interact and contribute to our show. Have your voice heard by emailing us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Remember to use the hashtag itspotlight411 for anything you tweet regarding our show. And to find us on Facebook, again, just search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook, and then make sure that you like our fan page once you find it so that you can interact with us and all that good stuff. All right, so here we are again, our second of two shows this week. And, this ain't going to be a long show, honestly. We have our box office beat, which won't take very long. And then, just like last week, it's basically the TV highlights center. But last week we kind of said, fall TV premiere week kind of review. But if you really look at things, a lot of shows didn't debut last week. ABC has held a lot of their shows for like October, like the Connors and a few others. So, there are some shows that are being held till October. So it's not as much stuff back on TV or that's debuted on TV as you would think. So, and then if you also throw in the fact that, it's not like I can get to everything in 1 week. So, when you add that together, you don't really have as much as you would think to discuss. And we didn't have a lot last week. And I don't really have a lot this week, so that segment won't take very long. Again, it'll have a little bit of a fall TV type angle to it, but still, it won't be a very long segment. And then, we have some wrestling to do tonight as well. We'll talk about Raw. We'll talk about SmackDown. There isn't a lot to talk about there. Again, they're kind of like in a holding pattern as they kind of go through this fall period where they got, Super Showdown this week, which we'll preview, but also Evolution. And then once you get past Evolution, I think things will pick up again because you got Survivor Series, and you might start to get some idea. You'll start to get some idea about WrestleMania and such. So, but yeah, so but the Super Showdown preview won't take us very long. We're not going to really do questions and comments from the fans. I think we'll do that again right around Survivor Series. Because I think right now, I think it's pretty clear people are bored with WWE right now. It's kind of in a rough patch right now. Very rough patch where everything, there like maybe 2 or 3 segments a week that you enjoy, and everything's kind of in a holding pattern. So it's kind of rough right now. But we'll talk about it with previous Super Showdown, and that'll be our show. So we don't really have a lot. Now, I know there's some big sports stuff going on. Obviously, today is really the first day of the actual baseball playoffs. Obviously, last 2 days we had the wild card. I mean, the wild card game is part of the playoffs. But, for many people, it's like once you win that game, that's when the real postseason begins. Well, we are in that now. The NLDS starting today. The Brewers just beat the Rockies, who beat the Cubs in the wild card game. Brewers win in 10 innings, 3-2. So they win game 1 of the NLDS. They lead the series 1-0. Game 2 for Milwaukee will take place tomorrow. The ALDS will take place tomorrow. First Cleveland at Houston, and then Yankees at Red Sox. Yankees, of course, knocking off the Oakland A's last night, 7-2. So we'll talk about all those games, and we'll talk about everything that's going to happen. Everything that's about to happen, and we'll talk about, give you a rundown of all the playoff games to that point next week on next Tuesday's show. We'll do a lot of baseball. It'll be a lot of fun. So we'll talk about all that next week. Also, there's another NLDS game tonight. The Braves and Dodgers. The last I checked, the Dodgers were up 4-0 on the Braves. I don't expect that series to be very much. I think the Dodgers are going to win that series pretty easily, I think. Now that I think about the way it sets up for them, I thought the Braves might have more of a chance, but I don't think so. So yeah. All right. So, but we'll talk about all those games, all those MLB playoff games, the Wildcat, all that on Tuesday's show. And then also there's a Kyrie Irving story out there that Kyrie Irving has indicated, well, he announced it at a Celtics Q&A tonight, but he apparently has been talking to management about it, or the organization about it, for a few weeks now. Kyrie Irving intends to, apparently verbally agree to resign with the Celtics next summer, which is a shock because everybody thought it was foregone conclusion. You go to the Knicks or the Nets. Well, that does not look like the case anymore. So we'll talk about that on Tuesday as well. That's obviously a very, very big story. Also tonight we got Thursday Night Football. And right now it's a pretty dominant one side of the fair with the Patriots leading 24-3 over the Colts. So keep you up there on that score, but I don't anticipate that being much of a game. So all that sports stuff we'll cover. NFL, college football, baseball, Kyrie Irving. So all of it we'll cover on Tuesday's show. So please don't think we're avoiding it. It's a Thursday show. We got entertainment, we got wrestling, but we'll hold the sports stuff for Tuesday. And we'll just keep you updated on the scores for the MLB playoff game, for the Braves-Dodgers game, and for the Colts-Patriots game. We'll keep you updated on those scores throughout the show tonight, even though it's not really a sports show tonight. All right, so as I said, we don't have a lot tonight, so let's get right down to it. Let's start, as we like to do, with the box office beat in the entertainment realm here. And, again, I think at this point, as you build towards the holiday movie season, you have a couple big movies coming out as you go around here, but you just want to maintain momentum if you're the box office. You just want to maintain momentum. And that's what they've been doing. September ends up being a fairly decent month and ends on a very good note with Night School pulling in $27.2 million in first week, but then Smallfoot pulling in a little over $23 million. So combine those two together, that's a very good total for the last week of September. Very good total. Maybe you felt like Night School could have did a little bit better. Maybe you feel like Smallfoot could have did a little bit better. But generally, they were right in that range of what I thought they could potentially do. So all in all, it ends up being a fairly successful week at the box office. Then you have a good hold by The House of a Clock and its walls in its second week, even though it dropped from first to third. It only dropped 52.6% to $12.6 million, which is pretty solid for its second week of release, especially when Smallfoot was pretty much taking the family audience away from it. So that's pretty good. And then dropping from second to fourth, A Simple Favor, $6.5 million, a 36% drop, which is pretty solid. And then you had The Nun dropping from third to fifth with $5.4 million. And then Hellfest opened with $5.1 million in sixth place in its first week. A little bit lower than I would have thought, but with, I guess with The Nun and coming out a few weeks ago and, two of the other, with Night School doing as well as it did, I think that probably hurt it a little bit. So not as good of a total there, but all in all, not too bad, especially when The Nun is still pulling in $5.4 million in its fourth week. So when you take into account the top six, it's pretty good. Them all being over $5 million for late September, that's pretty solid. So it ends up being a fairly good week. There's not anything overly negative to say other than maybe Hellfest underperforming, but even that, again, that you probably, it's not something that was really like shocking. Because that was always a possibility, but most of the story headlines and stories coming out of the box office last weekend were positive. Night School did pretty good. Smallfoot did pretty good. House for Quack and Swallow's House pretty good. All in all, it ends up being a fairly successful weekend. There's not much else you can say about it because there ain't a lot of negative you can say about it, and the positives are just positives, and that's it's funny. Positives you can't really discuss at length, but negatives you can because you want to discuss the reasons why and all that. But yeah, so with them being not too many negatives, there's not a whole lot to talk about. So a fairly good weekend here to start to go into October with and so it ends up being a very successful September, I think, for the box office. And now you again build into October with some good momentum. And you have two big movies this weekend. One of which is, both of which have mainstream appeal, but one of which has awards aspirations, and another is just hoping that it can salvage something to start a cinematic universe on its own. That movie, of course, is Venom, an action film from Sony Columbia, opening in 4,250 theaters, starring Tom Hardy, Michelle Williams, Woody Harrelson, Jenny Slate, and Riz Ahmed. Directed by Ruben Fleischer. Venom, of course, the Spider-Man villain, or you can call him anti-villain. Getting his own movie. It's been a controversial kind of film from the beginning. People thinking, why would you do this? And then it kind of got some good momentum with the trailers. There was some interest, and then the reviews haven't been great. And then, of course, there's the confusion of, Spider-Man's in the MCU, and this ain't going to have too much of a connection. Well, will it? Will it have connection? Will it be connected? Will it be its own entity? What's the deal? I think there's a lot. I think for many people, it's just too many question marks to take a chance on. And I think that's your concern if you're Venom going into this weekend, is that are there too many question marks? And with the middle of the road reviews, or maybe even mostly negative reviews, that doesn't help either. It just makes it very hard to have any momentum, even though you did build a little bit of momentum with the trailers, and then you kind of lost it because I think for many people the question marks are just too hard to avoid. Will this be connected to MCU and Tom Holland's Spider-Man? Is this a movie that can, work? Can Venom work on his own? That those are question marks, and I think for some those were just deal breakers. And and then of course I think there may be a few people that like, okay, well, let's see how the reviews are, and the reviews haven't been great, so that turns people off too. So I don't know about this movie. I don't know if I can see it making huge amounts of money. It is Columbus Day weekend. And by the way, we won't be doing like 4 or 5 day numbers. We'll just do the simple 3-day. I haven't done, we do that with Martin Luther King Day and President's Weekend. We don't really do like 4-day numbers for those holidays. So, but with Columbus Day, it might help it a little bit as people look for something to do. I don't know if it'll help it a lot. I kind of think A Star Is Born is going to take number 1, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Because A Star Is Born, of course, is a movie that's had a lot of buzz, awards buzz. Directed, written, and starring Bradley Cooper and of course Lady Gaga. It's a musical. It is R-rated, so it's going to hurt its accessibility, but it's had a lot of buzz and it's been heavily publicized. And even though there's been some talk, Lady Gaga fans are trolling and putting out fake reviews, for Venom to try to hurt Venom. So that Star Wars Born does well. Look, A Star Wars Born is going to do well regardless of Venom. Okay, I think A Star Wars Born is going to take number 1, regardless of anything Venom does. Even if Venom does better than expected, I think A Star Wars Born is going to take number 1. I think A Star Wars Born is going to put about 45 to 50 million this weekend. That's Columbus Day, giving it a little bit of a boost. So I think for the 3 days, we get 45, 50, maybe a little bit more with the Columbus Day weekend, Columbus Day holiday thrown in. I think it's going to do really well. It's been anticipated, and with the buzz it's getting, Lady Gaga's fans, I think it's going to do very well. So I'm thinking 45 to 50 million for the 3 days this weekend for A Star Is Born. I think Venom will take number 2, and I'm going to go with about 20 to 25. It could do lower than that. I wouldn't be surprised to see it kind of flop and do lower than that. But I don't anticipate doing much more than that. So about 20 to 25 million for Venom this weekend. Those are only 2 major releases this weekend. Other than that, everything will be holdovers, and I would anticipate. I think Night School will fall pretty hard. I think I could see Smallfoot holding better than Night School. I think Smallfoot will come in for about 16, 17 million with the Columbus Day weekend holiday with kids being off in school. She gets some good traction. Night School, I think around 13, 14, maybe a little more less than that. A House with a Clock in its Walls, maybe around 8.5, 9. It'll probably hold strong because of, again, the holiday weekend. And I think everything else will be under 5 million. Maybe if you include Columbus Day, maybe A Simple Favor will jump over 5 million too. But as for the 3 days, I don't think anything else will be over 5 million. So I think it'll be a fairly good weekend at the box office, carrying the momentum forward. I think A Star Is Born will do great. I think Venom will do okay. I think Smallfoot, Night School, and A House with a Clock as well will hold decently this weekend with the Columbus Day holiday. So I think all in all, it'll be a pretty successful weekend at the box office and carry the positive momentum forward. Next weekend, you have 3 new releases: Bad Times at the El Royale from Fox, a thriller, First Man drama, a drama for Universal, and you got Goosebumps 2, Haunted Halloween, another family-type movie. You've had a lot of those this fall, so we'll see if that hurts this film, especially with the Jack Black not being back for it. We'll see if that hurts it. But with Halloween close by and this film, the first Goosebumps doing pretty well, I'd imagine it will get at least a decent amount of audience. So we'll talk about those movies next week. So 3 new releases next week. 3 new releases next week. And then the week after, a pretty big release in Halloween, the return of the Halloween film franchise. And then after that will be a week that could go either way, but we'll talk more about that as it goes along. But right now, I think it'll be as far as this weekend, upcoming weekend goes, I think it'll be a pretty solid weekend at the box office. So, all right, so that's the box office beat. Let's jump to some TV highlights, and then we're going to talk some Damon Wayans here. because that story needs to be talked about. People have been wanting me to give my opinion on it, and they probably want Mike to give his opinion on my co-host, but he's not here tonight again, so you have to wait for his opinion on that, because I'm sure he'd have some thoughts because he's a big fan of the Lethal Weapon TV show. But anyway, let's do some TV highlights. And again, I don't have a lot. I pretty much been, I mean, I can highlight Shameless because I love that show and I think it's been great, even though some people think it's in a downward spiral. I really enjoyed what they did this week. I know people are like, oh, it's the 100th episode, it should have been bigger. You look, a lot of these shows don't celebrate, don't do something big for the 100th episode. It's usually like the sci-fi, like comic book type shows that do big thing for their milestone episodes. You don't really see, the more grounded, realistic dramas do that. It's just usually an episode that represents what the show is. Maybe it has one or two big things or semi-big things, but really you don't see too much in these milestone episodes. I wasn't really surprised to see them just basically do what Shameless does, which is, family drama, comedy and drama mixed together into a nice ball of just quality, because it's still a quality show. Is it as good as it was a few seasons ago? No. And I think I could go into why I think that is, but I'm not going to do that tonight. It's a point that could be that we'll go into a pretty lengthy discussion, I think. But I thought it was a good enough episode, and you have to sometimes read between the lines. The fans were hyping this, and the media was hyping it more than the writers, the directors, and the actors. They were going along with it, but they never said, "Oh, this could be such a big episode. So much stuff happens in it." They just said it's the 100th episode, and I think everybody else projected what they thought should happen in the episode. They projected onto it, like, "Oh yeah, this is what should happen." So everybody's expectations were out of hand. And when that happens, you kind of hype something up way too much, and then there's just no way it could ever appease you. That's what happens with a lot of movies. So I was satisfied with that. That was a very good episode. Particularly the ending. Pardon me. Particularly the ending with Lip, I thought was a very good ending. Very good moment. I did watch A Million Little Things. I don't mind the show. I find it better than This Is Us. I don't find it as emotionally exploitive as This Is Us. It's kind of more balanced, so I can enjoy it. I just don't know how long it's going to last, but I've enjoyed it. I think it's okay. So I checked out that show this week. I've been watching South Park. You all know I'm a fan of that show, and I don't know what to think. It's been kind of a, for me, it's been kind of a, hard to laugh at what they've been doing for me. So I guess I can appreciate what they're trying to do, but at the same time, it's been hard for me to laugh at what they've been doing. So, what else have I watched? The NBC shows, which I watched last week, I watched again this week. I enjoyed both. I thought I Feel Bad had what was I going to say? I Feel Bad. What the? I thought Manifest had a better week this week. And I thought that New Amsterdam had a better week this week. So that's good. You want these shows to do better, keep building and do better. So I thought they both had good weeks. I don't really like anything I've seen on CBS so far. I think I've caught all their new stuff. I don't really like anything that I'm seeing right now. I did catch a second episode of I Feel Bad. And it was all right. I thought it was better than the first. I still need to see a little bit more. I'm hoping that tonight's episode shows me a little bit more. I think that show has immense potential. I just don't think it's utilized it yet. And I think other than that, I don't think I've caught anything else. Again, a lot of shows. I am looking forward to some of ABC stuff that's coming in October. A lot of other shows are coming back in October, and then a lot of the shows that I'm interested in don't come back or debut until mid-season. So, swim pickings. I did catch Last Man Standing's return. I thought that was solid. I thought that was really, really good. And the show that's after, The Cool Kids, I liked a lot. I thought that was really, really funny. Probably my favorite comedy. So, but well, obviously by default, my favorite comedy, so new comedy this year. But one of my favorite new comedies in a while. I just thought was really, really amusing. Um, so I'd recommend that one. So I think that's it, though. I don't think that anything else stands out to me as far as recommending, as far as new and returning shows go. And like I said, as we go along further into October, and I have, I'm thinking I'll be able to get to more shows and catch up. And right now it's kind of hard because I'm trying to fit it all in between baseball playoffs and football and a lot of other things. And of course, my normal like work and life activities. So I'm trying to get to as many shows and such as I can. But I will continue to do that as I go along, and I'll try to recommend what I recommend and what I think is worth recommending, I should say, and I'll try to highlight what I think is worth highlighting, like I always do. So. But those are just some of the things that stand out to me off the top of my head. And that's why I do. I always do this segment off the top of my head because even if I try to write it out before like I do every other segment, I'm still going to blank on things. I'm still going to forget. I'm sure there's a couple of shows I've watched that I am forgetting about, and it'll probably come to mind after the show is over, and I'll just have to put a note down to myself to bring them up next week. So, but yeah, that's the TV highlights and the TV standouts that I have for this week. And so far, I think fall TV has been pretty disappointing. I think there's a few highlights, as I mentioned the last couple of weeks, but so far, pretty disappointing as a whole. All right, so before we move out of the entertainment realm and let's stick in TV and let's talk about this Damon Wayans thing. So one of the big topics of discussion in the spring as we were approaching renewal cancellation period was Lethal Weapon. Because in many ways it came down to, for Fox, Lethal Weapon and Gotham, and Warner Brothers was only pushing to really save one of them, but they ended up saving both of them. But Gotham got the last season, a shortened last season, and then Lethal Weapon got like a 13-episode commitment, but with the promise of more. And then, but then, one of the big points of contention with Lethal Weapon was its lead, gosh, what's his name? I'm blanking on his name. No, his last name is Crawford. God, I'm blanking on the name. I'm so sorry, folks. Oh, Quinn Crawford. Sorry, Martin Riggs. Yeah. One of the big sources of discussion in the spring was that he was, there was problems between him and the other lead, Damon Wayans, and eventually it ended with Crawford being released, and they ended up getting rid of the character, and then they brought Sean William Scott, and it was just all one big controversy, one big story, and one big headline. Fast forward to the spring, to the fall. Well, now we find out Damon Wayans is leaving the show. So now you're losing your other co-lead, and the co-lead that you basically chose to appease by getting rid of the other lead is now leaving. So now you're sitting there wondering, well, geez, why did we get rid of Crawford if you were just going to turn up and leave? And the weird thing about it is the reason he's leaving. He says he's too old for it. Too old for it. You couldn't let them know this before. I mean, I don't understand it. His own son didn't understand. He said his own son called it bizarre on CBS this morning. Like it's a weird thing. Like you go through this whole situation, the show went out on a limb and basically chose to appease you, and then you're returning the favor by a couple months later by saying, "Hey, I'm done." Halfway through the season, I'm done. It's not. That's first of all that's a terrible thing to do to the show, because here's the thing, okay? If you in your mind wanted out of the show, okay, then say that last year, because this can't be something sudden, unless you just didn't like what was going on this season. But even then, finish out the season at least, or try to sit down and try to work it out before you go, hey, I'm going to leave. Knowing that your show supported you, I mean, come on, it's just not good form. I'm sorry, but the right thing to do would have been to be like, okay, you know what? Don't get rid of him. I'll go. Or, you know what? Just say, let's just end the show rather than go through all this drama and recast. I'm not recast, but bring another actor in as a lead, and just say, you know what? Let's just end it. I mean, I'm sorry. That's that just makes him look bad. It makes him look bad after everything the show went through, and basically them getting rid of the other lead to appease him, and then he turns around and says he's leaving because he's too old for it. Dumb. I'm sorry, dumb. It makes you look really. It makes Damon Wayans look really bad, really, really bad. And look, if I'm the show, I just end it. I just end it. It's unfortunate. It's not gonna get the ending it deserved, and you just brought Sean William Scott in. It's gonna be sloppy and it's gonna be messy, but you just got to end it at this point. You can't bring in another lead and then try to like salvage this, because the audience already is kind of was rejecting the notion of this show going on as with what you were doing with Sean William Scott after Crawford left. So you can't go through that again with the other lead and expect people to be like, you know what, I'm going to give this a chance. No, you got to end it. End the show. Move on. And I would say if I'm Fox, I would say, hey, Gotham, you want an expanded run for a final season? That's what I would do. But maybe Gotham won't want that because they've clearly already kind of written their season and kind of know where they're going. So maybe they've done it. Look, first season, they're only supposed to have 12 episodes and they extended. So maybe they can do it, but I don't know. But that's what I would do. That's what I would do. I would extend Gotham's run because that's really what it came down to, is Gotham versus Lethal Weapon. So, but yeah, not good form from Damon Wayans. This makes things very ugly for him in terms of how he handled this, and to jump and leave now, it just doesn't look right. It doesn't, and it's not the right thing to do. He has every right to make his decision, but at least finish out the season, or if this is something you've been thinking about, you should have said something in the spring. I don't know. It just doesn't. I mean, when your own son says it's bizarre, I don't know. Really weird. Anyway, I just wanted to kind of get some comments in on that because people have been asking me about that all week. And too bad if Mike was here, he would have made some comments, I imagine, too, on it, because Lethal Weapon's one of his favorite shows. But I'm sure at some point when he comes on, we'll get him. And I think he'll be back soon. But when he comes on, we'll get his opinion on it. I'm sure he has a lot to say about it. So, all right. Enough with the entertainment. That's all we've done so far tonight. Let's jump into some wrestling. And as I said, we have Raw and Smackdown to talk about before we talk Super Showdown. Not a lot to talk about. I mean, if you look at Raw Monday night, the best, in my opinion, there was 3 segments that really, really worked. Number one was the Elias Kevin Owens segment, which they got nuclear heat. They did a great job with that segment. They were very good together, good chemistry. They worked the crowd. Very good segment from both of them. The Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, Triple H thing at the end was very good. Kane, of course, involved in there too. Very good. Obviously, building to what we all know was coming with the 4 of them. Very good segment that was. And the Dean Ambrose promo at the beginning of the show I thought was really good. And they're really doing a good job, I think, of planting the seeds for Ambrose's inevitable turn, because we know it's coming. We know it's coming, and it's pretty obvious. So I like that. And I think the first hour was okay with the matches with Reigns and Rollins and Ambrose all getting matches, and I think that was okay. But other than that, I thought Raw was kind of a waste. And again, now that Super Showdowns happened this week, hopefully now they can, I think Raw might pick up a little bit here, because Raw will be built. I mean, outside of Evolution, the Evolution event at the end of the month, which is just for the women, Raw with the men can just build to Survivor Series now. So I think you'll see some improvement with Raw, just because we beyond Super Showdown, they can just work about Survivor Series, and then of course the women can build towards Evolution. So I think you'll see a little bit of improvement in the show after Super Showdown. And I think after Evolution, see even more improvement. So because I think there'll be more building towards Survivor Series, WrestleMania, Rumble, and all that. But yeah, there's not much else to talk about from Raw outside of that. And SmackDown, I thought, was just a complete waste. I didn't think much happened at all on SmackDown. I mean, yeah, they advanced AJ and Samoa Joe. Some good stuff with Miz, Daniel Bryan. But I mean, Charlotte, Becky continued to be a hot act. New Day stuff was okay. I mean, but really, it was just kind of there. So like I said, there's not a lot of stuff to talk about as far as Raw and SmackDown goes. So, they just kind of, again, it's kind of been what it's been for the last couple months, where by the time you get to a couple weeks before pay-per-view, it just feels like the TV show, the Raw TV, Raw and SmackDown is just kind of going through the motions. just waiting to get to that next event and to amp things up, and then to help things pick up again. That's kind of how it's been all for the last since WrestleMania, really. So, but now we have Super Showdown upon us, and like I said, I think things will get better for Raw and SmackDown after Super Showdown, and even better after Evolution, because we've for the last 2 months, pretty much since after SummerSlam, we know what we're getting at Super Showdown, we know what we're getting at Evolution, and to the extent now we know what we're getting at Crown Jewel. So once you get through these 3 events, I keep forgetting about Crown Jewel. Once we get through these 3 events, I think you'll see some improvement by a lot to Raw and SmackDown, because they'll be building Survivor Series and beyond. So, but yeah, Super Showdown takes place this Saturday. I'm trying to figure out what time it starts, but hang on just a second. I'm going to pull up the card here. I know it's on the 6th. I just don't know what the time situation is. So give me just 1 minute here. Super Showdown, 7:00 p.m. Saturday, from Melbourne, Australia. So again, a very big event for WWE. I think it's going to be very much like the Greatest Royal Rumble. I think it is going to be kind of like a glorified house show, but I think they'll try to. I think probably the cruiserweight title will change hands, so at least they'll have something impactful happen. But I think they need to have something impactful. I would hope that they try to do more than that, but I don't think they will. I just don't think they want to, do anything overly big there. But I think that the cruiserweight title, they'll probably have changed hands to Buddy Murphy, Australia, and it makes sense. By the way, this Saturday at 5 a.m. is Super Showdown. So I got the time wrong. I apologize for that. 5 a.m. Eastern Time, 2 a.m. Pacific on WWE. So it's an early show, but obviously many people just watch it later on the network if they want to watch it. So Super Showdown here. We're going to just treat this like we do with the Patriots, but we're probably not going to talk about it. By we, I mean me. I'm not going to talk very long about any of these matches because, again, I think it's going to be like a glorified house show, and not much is going to change. So let's look at the card right now. Let's see here. Sorry about that, folks. I didn't realize the sound was on. My apologies. All right, so here we go. Okay. Why can't I get the full card? Okay, here we go. All right. I'm trying to see if there's a kickoff match, but I don't know if there is one. Oh, I don't know if there is one, but we'll just, I don't know. I don't see anything labeled as a kickoff match, but we'll just go over all the matches. We'll just, predict and stuff. All right. So the first match we have is the New Day, who are the champions, versus the Bar for the SmackDown Live Tag Team Championships. This is one match where I could see a title change, only just because if there's going to be title changes, they'll probably be in some of the lower card matches. I could see them having they drop the titles here because they've always liked the Bar, and they've always kind of had them, positioned in a way where they can kind of flip the titles to them at any point. Ultimately, I'm going to pick the New Day, but this is one of those matches where I could see it flipping, and you could, that and the Cruiserweight Championship match. Those are two matches where I might see, where I think there could be some title change. I think this would be a good match. All good workers. The crowd will be hot for it. I might even start the night. I'm going to pick the New Day, but I wouldn't be surprised to see the Bar win. I think it'll be a great match, though. Okay, here's a match where I definitely think we'll get a title change. Cedric Alexander, Cruiserweight Champion, versus Buddy Murphy for the Cruiserweight Championship. Buddy Murphy, of course, the Australian. I I think they'll have Buddy Murphy win here. In fact, that might even be the match that starts tonight. I think it'll be a fun match. It'll be a good match, and I think look, they've been looking. Cedric's had the title for a long, long time. They need to change things up a little bit. No better time to do it than having the hometown boy win the title. It'll be a nice moment. It'll be a big selling point for the event, and it'll be something that they can look. Australia can look back on for years to come. And it'll really get WWE some good promotion doing that, having Buddy Murphy win here. So I think Buddy Murphy beats Cedric Alexander in a very good match on Saturday. Next up, we have Asuka and Naomi versus the Iconics in a tag team match. This match is filler. How if there's a pre-show match, this might be one of them. Or pre-show matches, this might be one of them. I think the Iconics will win, only because of the Australian connection. But then again, if they're going to have Buddy Murphy go over, usually the thing was if you're in your hometown, you lose. But if they have Buddy Murphy win, maybe they'll have the Iconics lose, because if they're trying to rebuild Asuka, they might not want her to lose here. So, of course, they could always get around it by having Naomi take the pin. But I'm still, I'm not going to take the Iconics. If I'm taking Buddy Murphy, I don't think I should take the Iconics. I don't think they're going to both Buddy Murphy and the Iconics win in the hometown. So, if I'm picking Buddy Murphy to win, I'm going to pick the Iconics to lose. So, I think the Iconics lose here. Asuka will get the pin. I think it'll be an okay match. Not a long one, but just kind of like a stopgap in between some of the bigger matches. So, but I'll pick Asuka and Naomi to win, with Asuka getting the pin. Again, if I'm picking Buddy Murphy to win, I probably can't pick the Iconics. I don't think all of them are going to go over here. So. They'll have somebody who's in their hometown, and more likely to be the Iconics than more likely the Iconics than Buddy Murphy, I think, because I think they built Buddy Murphy to win on Saturday. So, all right, here's a big match because of who's returning in it. We have the returning John Cena and Bobby Lashley versus Kevin Owens and Elias in a tag team match. Kevin Owens and Elias, because they had one of the highlights on Raw this week with their great promo. Cena coming back, been in Japan. I'm sorry, not Japan, China. Completely different physique now. So the crowd should be amped up for this. I think this will be just a fun kind of filler type match, but the crowd will care because of Cena. Cena and Lashley are going to win here. Cena's probably going to pin Elias. I don't think Owens will eat the pin here because they seem to care about his credibility. So I think Cena's going to win here. Cena and Lashley will win here, and I think Cena will get the pin. It'll be a fun match for what it was. Probably won't get a great deal of time. They'll probably give Elias and Owens a pre-match promo type deal to fill some time too. But yeah, I like Cena and Lashley to win here, and what should be a short but effective match. What's next? Ronda Rousey and the Bella Twins versus the Riot Squad in a tag team. Lots of tag team matches here, which is, look, again, it's a glorified house show, and they're trying to protect people's health, and they're just about getting people on the card. We all know who's winning this match. Now, look, I've seen some people say, wait a minute, with the Liv Morgan stuff, maybe they give, her a rub here because of what happened. They're not going to do that here, okay? If anything, Liv Morgan... it's not going to be the one getting pinned. But the Riot Squad's losing here. They're not going to have Ronda's team lose here, especially in Australia. I think this will be, again, another one of these matches, like the last two, that these tag matches ain't going to get a lot of time. They're going to be fun little filler matches. The crowd's going to be into them because of who's in them, but they're not going to get a lot of time. Ronda and the Bellas are going to win. I think the big moment for this match will be after the match, because I think the Bellas will turn heel, because we've been hearing all along that Nikki Bella versus Ronda Rousey is a potential championship match at Evolution. I think that's what's going to happen. I think that's going to be set up after a match. I think Ronda and the Bellas will win the match. It won't be a long match, but I think they'll win the match. It'll be an effective, fun kind of filler match. A crowd will go crazy for Ronda and maybe even for the Bellas, and anybody but Liv Morgan will probably be pinned. And after the match, after Ronda pins whomever, I think Nikki Bella and Brie Bella will return, or maybe just Nikki Bella. I don't know, but definitely be at least Nikki Bella. I'm thinking both of them will turn heel, but and before somebody says, well, wait, what about Dana Bryan? They can keep Brie and Daniel separate. If anything, it's a perfect time to turn Brie if everybody kind of against her because of the Liv Morgan thing. But yeah, I think at least Nikki will turn heel and attack Ronda after the match to set up their Evolution match. But Ronda Rousey and the Bellas will win this match. All right, next up. Daniel Bryan versus The Miz to decide the #1 contender for the WWE Championship. I think this is a tough match for me because if you had asked me a couple weeks ago, I would say The Miz is winning this match. Because I'm pretty sure, I am pretty sure that Miz is the guy that's going to take it off AJ Styles. But I don't think they're going to take it off AJ Styles right now. I think they're going to take it off AJ Styles maybe at like Survivor Series or TLC. Maybe even probably TLC. Is TLC a SmackDown event? And whatever the December pay-per-view for SmackDown is. Oh, no, there's only one pay-per-view now. They're combined. That's right. I'm sorry. Well, whatever the December pay-per-view is, I think that's when he's going to lose it. Get his rematch at Royal Rumble. My belief is that Daniel Bryan wins. First of all, they've had Miz go over in the first 2 matches of this feud. Daniel Bryan has to win at some point. I think this will be the match he wins. And this is one of the more significant matches in the card because whoever wins this is going to get a championship match. So obviously has some high stakes on it, unlike a lot of the other matches on the card. SmackDown's really the only match. SmackDown is really the only brand that has matches on the card that have some relevancy to them. Not relevancy, but stakes to them. I think this will be a great match. The crowd will be into it. It's been a great feud. I think Daniel Bryan gets the win here because he has to go over at some point. I think what happens is Daniel Bryan goes over in this match. And then at SmackDown 1000, they'll have Daniel Bryan face AJ Styles. And I think The Miz will interfere in that match. And they'll run some kind of triple threat on either SmackDown the next week or at Survivor Series. And I think Miz will win and take the title. It'll be one of those things where Bryan is about to pin AJ, but Daniel Bryan gets pulled out of the ring and Miz pins him. And Miz wins the title there. And then Miz will carry it into WrestleMania, and then Miz and Daniel Bryan feud will go all the way to that. That's what I think is going to happen. But I think this will be a good match. I think it'll get time. The crowd will be into it. But I don't see Daniel Bryan losing again. I really don't. They've had Daniel Bryan lose one. They've had Daniel Bryan already lose to Miz twice. I thought he'd win the mixed tag match at Hell in a Cell, but he didn't. So, yeah, I think Daniel Bryan beats The Miz in a close match and fun match. Next up, Becky wins the SmackDown Women's Champion versus Charlotte for that SmackDown Live Women's Championship. Obviously, one of the other big matches in the card, one of the only other matches with big stakes. This has been probably the hottest feud on SmackDown. Obviously, they've been trying to turn Becky heel. It hasn't worked. So now she's kind of like the anti-hero. Charlotte, they want to be the face, but she's kind of become the de facto heel against Becky. It's been an interesting feud. It's been an interesting storyline. I think this would be yet another good match between these two. Becky's going to retain. Becky Lynch is definitely going to retain here. It's a matter of how they do it. Do they have her actually pin Charlotte again? Because the last time it was kind of like a roll-up type, kind of like not like a fluke, but like you caught her by surprise. Do they actually ever pin her like in a different way this time, like a more, I won't say a credible way, but in a more what's the word I'm looking for? Do they have her pin her? Do they have her pin her in a more affirmative way, like a more dominant way, where she kind of just like, I don't think she'll tap her out, but like Exploder or something, or do they kind of make it like another kind of fluky win for Becky Lynch? It'll be interesting to see what they do here. But the one thing I do not think they will do is have Charlotte win. I think Becky will retain. The other thing I don't think they'll do is have it be like a no contest type, or have Becky blatantly cheat to win. I think if anything, it'll be a fluke win. Probably, but maybe those surprises and have Becky like outright pin her in a dominant fashion. But I think it's still one of the big matches to look forward to on the card, just in the Daniel Bryan Miz match. I think it'll be a lot of fun. I think it'll get a lot of time, and I think it'll be good. But I think that Becky Lynch will retain that match. Again, as we continue with the SmackDown matches, the only matches that really have high stakes on the card. I mean, other than the main event, Undertaker Triple H does have high stakes in some ways, but AJ Styles, it's the WWE Champion versus Samoa Joe for that WWE Championship. It's been a feud that didn't start out well, but it's really built well since SummerSlam. It's been gotten personal. It's been kind of awkward and uncomfortable at times, but it's been a fun feud in that regard. Reminds you a lot of like those old WWE feuds, like the Orton Triple H feud that got disturbing, and you just couldn't believe what was going on. I think Samoa Joe. I've people have been wondering if Samoa Joe will win. I think they're. I wish I could say he is, but I think they're going to go as far as they can with Samoa Joe without him winning here. I don't think AJ is going to drop it at this. I mean, like I said, I think AJ will hold on to it, maybe at least into November, into the build for Survivor Series, or maybe they'll have him reach a year and then drop it. Or he loses at that December pay-per-view. Sometime between November 1st and the end of the year, he's going to lose it. I just don't think it's going to be here. I just don't. And it's unfortunate because Samoa Joe deserves that title. He's the reason that this kind of feud has kind of taken off. This will be a good match, a vicious match. It'll be a lot of fun. It'll be intense. It'll be something that we've all been waiting for. Probably the best match these two had. But I think this is essentially going to be the blow-off feud. And I think AJ will retain the WWE Championship in this match, and it's unfortunate because again, Samoa Joe deserves it, but I don't see it. I think they'll do right by Joe and keeping him strong like they have in the previous two matches, but I think they'll go as far as they can with Joe without actually having him win. So I think AJ Styles will retain in a great match. What might be the match of the night, and might be the longest match of the night. Next, we have the Shield versus the Dogs of War. Obviously, Dolph Ziggler, Braun Strowman, and Drew McIntyre in a tag team match. I won't call this filler, but because it has a little bit more purpose. But still, we've seen these guys battling each other for 6 weeks now. It's kind of getting a little old. It really is. But the Shield's going to win this match. They're probably going to pin Dolph Ziggler. They're going to protect Braun. They're going to protect Drew because they got more bigger plans for them. Dolph's is kind of there. It's like Dolph's there to take the pins and kind of be that guy. They'll probably tease the Ambrose heel turn a few times. But, I don't think they'll have the turn here. I think they'll wait on that to maybe like Survivor Series or something. But still, I think the Shield will win here. I think it'll be a fun match for what it is. They'll get a lot of time because of who's in it. But again, it's kind of like, we've all kind of been there, done that. We've seen these guys together for so long now. It's just kind of like, let's just move on. But yeah, the Shield's going to win this match. No question about it. Roman definitely getting the pin. More like, again, on Dolph Ziggler, more than likely, because there's no way they're going to have Braun or Drew take a pin for sure. So, all right, the main event, which, again, other than the 3 SmackDown matches I mentioned, is the only other match with high stakes on the card. Or, I guess, reasonably high stakes. The Undertaker with Kane in his corner versus Triple H with Shawn Michaels in his. We all know this is building to, a tag match at Crown Jewel, and then eventually probably Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker at Survivor Series, because that's the rumor right now. Or at WrestleMania if they decide to wait that long. This will be a spectacle. This will be fun. This will be, it'll be awesome to see these 4 in the ring together, just like it was on Monday night. I think Undertaker is going to win. I think he has to win because you're going to do the Shawn Michaels thing. I think that makes more sense. If Triple H wins, then, Undertaker continues to go after Triple H because he's going to want that win back. So I think it's more likely that they have Undertaker win here, and then at the tag match at Crown Jewel, Triple H and Shawn Michaels win, and then that's how you build Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels. So I think this would be a good match. Undertaker seems to be moving better since the hip surgery. Triple H obviously is a great worker. With Kane and Shawn Michaels there, there'll be some spots with them and some big moments with them. It'll be nostalgic. It'll be a spectacle. It'll be a great thing. It'll be an awesome thing to behold. I am picking the Undertaker to win this match, and obviously and there might be shenanigans in the match. Who knows? But I think there'll definitely be shenanigans after the match to set everything up that's coming up. So. Should be a great main event with Undertaker beating Triple H. So there you go. We made it through all the matches on the card already. Again, there wasn't much you can say about any of them. There just wasn't. There just wasn't. I mean, they are what they are, and again, it's probably like a glorified house show. Though I think they got a little bit more going for them on this event than they did the Greatest Royal Rumble. I think they'll have I think there will be at least one title change, probably in the form of the Cruiserweight Championship, maybe two. If there's another one, it'll probably be the SmackDown Live Tag Team Championship. But I think it'll be all in all a good show. I think there'll be enough there where you don't feel like it's meaningless, but I don't think it's gonna be some big, huge like paper like kind of like a big event where there's like seismic shifts in terms of what's going on. Another little tidbit to mention: Liv Morgan's been officially cleared. Apparently, she was cleared to work Raw on Monday, but she really didn't. So, but she can wrestle. So she'll be in the match on Sunday. Obviously, that's Daniel Bryan's made some comments since last week supporting his wife, and I agree with him. Look. Even though I said that, I think they have to be careful how much they use Brie, and they have to take some safety precautions. I do recognize that this could happen to anybody, and it does happen when you're wrestling. Okay, it does happen. That doesn't mean that I don't think they should back off on Brie and take some safeguards, but I do understand what he's saying. But it seems like that whole situation is kind of calming down now, and Liv Morgan's back, thank God, and hopefully everybody can move on, and Brie can either shake the ring rust or they just back off on her to keep and take some precautions with her. But yeah, so Liv Morgan has been cleared. She will be in the match on Saturday. So. Outside of that, I don't think there's any other wrestling news to talk about either from WWE anywhere. Anything that WWE or anywhere else that people want us to talk about, or I've seen that is interesting enough to talk about. So, I think with that being said, and you know me, I don't like to go too late. With us starting at 10 now, I don't. It's not that I don't want to give you a full show. It's that if we don't have the content and we can get off the air at a reasonable time, why not get off the air at a reasonable time? So that's what we're going to do, because we got through everything we had to get through, and there's no need to kind of go on and on and on and on. And on. So let's close things down here and start to wind down. As always, the show might be over. It's not mean you have to stop interacting, streaming to our show. Continue to have your voice heard. Continue to send us your suggestions, questions, comments, opinions on things we said on the show, things we talked about, suggestions for things you want to see on the show, topic ideas, breaking news items for sports, entertainment, wrestling that you want us to cover. Questions about the show, the scheduling of the show, any of these things you can do by email, Facebook, and Twitter. You can email us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Remember to use the hashtag itspotlight411 for anything you tweet regarding our show. And you can find us on Facebook. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook, and then make sure you like our fan page so you can interact with us and all that good stuff. Again, follow us on social media so you can get the latest information about our show, especially when it comes to scheduling. Any last-minute postponements or delays will be posted on social media. So you want to make sure you follow us so you can have access to all that, and plus also access to any other random things we post on our social media. So if you want access to all that, you want to make sure you follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Follow us on Twitter at itspotlight411. And remember, hashtag ITSpotlight411 is the hashtag you want to use when tweeting at us or tweeting anything to us. And, of course, on Facebook, search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook, and then make sure that you like our fan page so you can interact with us and have access to everything that I mentioned and more. There are two ways to keep up with the show and look back at classic episodes. You can stream us anytime on Google Plus and YouTube. Just search for In the Spotlight 411. You'll be taking our show pages on both sites. We'll have access to every episode we've ever produced for Google Plus and YouTube. You can stream, and that includes every episode from mid-October 2015, all up to tonight's current episode. All those episodes are available for you to stream anytime you want. So check us out on Google Plus and YouTube. Just search for In the Spotlight 411. You'll have access to those episodes. If streaming's not your thing, maybe you prefer to listen to us or listen to us on the go rather than see us on screen. Maybe you're interested in older episodes of the show. Any of that applies to you. Check us out on our main host sites, Podbean and iTunes. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 on both those sites. When you do, you'll be taken to our show pages on both sites where you have access to every episode we've ever produced in the nearly 8 years we've been doing this show. So it's every episode from original Blog Talk Radio run from October 2010 to January 2011. Every episode from our Talk Show run from January 2011 all the way up to mid-October 2015. All of our Google Plus and YouTube episodes mid-October 2015, all after tonight's current episode. All those episodes available in audio format for your convenience. Every episode we've ever done in audio format for your convenience, or transfer into audio format for your convenience. Every episode is on there on Podbean and iTunes, listed from the most recent date, that being tonight, all the way to the oldest, way back in October 2010. Those episodes, again, maybe you missed a part of an episode, want to check on an episode again. maybe missed an episode entirely, you want to check an episode from 4 or 5 years ago for the first time, or maybe you're a long-time fan, want to go back and look at episodes from way back when again. Again, just want to listen to us on the go, or just listen to us in general instead of seeing us on screen. If any of that applies to you, check us out on our main host sites, Podbean and iTunes. Just search In the Spotlight for and Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean, iTunes, Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean, iTunes. Your ways to keep up with the show and look back at class. Guys, with the search for In the Spotlight 411. Again, just search for In the Spotlight 411 to do all that and more. I want to give a shout out again to my co-host Mike, who is again not with us tonight, but I'm thinking from our discussions, it looks like he's going to be coming back soon. Things are going to be opening up for him soon, so we look forward to having him back and involved and getting his opinion on a lot of things. Because I mean, a lot of times over the last 3 months that I wanted to get his opinion on things and haven't been able to do it, but hopefully we can do that soon. So hope everything's going well for him. Shout out to him. Thank myself for another great show. Pat myself on the back, and thank all of you for your continued support and contributions to the show. Thank you so much for watching. To those that'll be watching this later in archive, thank you to you as well. We did about an hour, which is not too bad. But again, I'm not going to keep going. We got through everything. There's not much else to talk about. So, when we get through everything, I'm not going to, go too late. There's no sense in keeping going and stopping and ending too late. And I think we went late on Tuesday because we started late. So, and my apologies again for that. And, one of the things people have been asking me about lately too is, they say, it seems like sometimes you're stuttering a lot, you're rushing through things. And look, the bottom line is, with us starting at the later time and with so much stuff going on and everything that we're planning on doing in the future and everything, yeah, it's gotten a little bit difficult at times. I'm kind of been going through the motions a little bit. Right now, again, we were supposed to start the new format last week. So, right now, I'm not trying to, I know I'm not trying to be unprofessional. I'm not trying to, just kind of skate by, but it's been kind of exhausting. I've been up late doing some of the things and all the planning done for the new shows, and along with everything else. So that's going on. So, bear with me. I know it has been great. And we've also been running late a lot too. So that doesn't help matters either. So, when that happens, the later we run, the more tired you are, and it makes it very difficult. So, and with me being the only person here doing the show, I don't really get a chance to have a break, so it's kind of hard to collect my thoughts. Like at least when Mike was with me doing the show, I get a little bit of a break and I get time to collect my thoughts and respond to him and then get my own points out there. Now I'm all by myself, so I have to kind of think on the fly a little bit more. So plus, there's been interruptions and all kinds of stuff. But regardless, thank you for bearing with me and thank you for continuing to bear with me in advance. And, it'll get better. And especially once we start the new format and stuff, it'll get better. And I think people will notice the difference. And, people see there are people that like the 10 o'clock time slot, but then there's also people that wish we can go a little earlier. We'll see. Right now, we're going to do the 10 o'clock thing for the next couple of weeks. When we start the new format, we'll see if we have to change back to 9 or what we have to do. But we'll figure it out as we go. And of course, we'll keep you updated throughout the process, and we'll give you updates throughout the month of October as we get closer to starting the new era of our show, the new format, and everything else. So, but we'll keep you informed. No worries. What was I going to say? Oh, next week, we do have 2 shows coming at you next week. Oh, before I get into that, let me just give you a quick score update here, because I said I would score update you, and I haven't done that. It is 38-17 New England with 7:05 left in the fourth on Thursday Night Football. This game on Fox. Indy had made it a 1-possession game, but then New England kind of took over. So this game has become a brawl, just like we all thought it would. Brady also became the 3rd quarterback to throw 500 touchdown passes tonight, so pretty significant accomplishment for him. If you're wondering about the baseball score, NLDS Game 1 between the Braves and the Dodgers is going into the 8th inning. It is 5-0 Dodgers in that game. And again, as I mentioned earlier, the Brewers beat the Rockies in the first NLDS game this afternoon in 10, 3-2. So Milwaukee leads that series 1-0, and Dodgers well on their way to leading that series against the Braves 1-0. We'll talk about all the baseball playoff games. We'll talk the Kyrie Irving stuff. We'll talk about the NFL, college football, all that on Tuesday's show. The day after Columbus Day, October the 9th. It's coming Tuesday, October the 9th. That will be our next show, and of course, we'll be on there next Thursday as well. We'll do entertainment, box office beat, TV highlights, any other entertainment stuff we have to cover. We maybe even do some New York Comic Con stuff. I'm imagining there'll be some big announcements from there. We'll do all that next Thursday as well. And we'll talk about we'll talk wrestling. We'll talk about the Super Showdown, how that went, Raw and Smackdown, all that on next Thursday's show. So 2 shows next week, both at 10 o'clock from Eastern Time, both broadcasting and streaming live here on Google Plus and YouTube. Also, next week, we'll be celebrating our 8th anniversary. I think we'll be doing that on Thursday, but we'll see. We'll see if we can get Mike on for that at least, and then maybe he can come back permanently in a couple weeks after that. We'll see. We'll see if we can get him on for that. I figure it's probably going to, if we get him on, it'll be on a Thursday more. It'll be on a Tuesday, but we'll see. But we'll talk more about that next week. But we'll definitely do the anniversary stuff next week to celebrate our 8th anniversary. Hard to believe it's been 8 years, but so we'll be doing that next week too. Again, more than likely on Thursday. So next week, that's the deal for next week. That's what's coming up. Until then, I hope you all have a great rest of your night, a great Friday, a great weekend, and a great start to your week next week. We'll see you back here for our next show next Tuesday night, October the 9th at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. We'll talk sports, football, baseball, Kyrie Irving, the whole deal on Tuesday. And then, of course, we'll have a show on Thursday next week as well. 2 shows coming at you next week. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you back here this coming Tuesday night, October the 9th, 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time for our next show. Until then, good night, everybody.